Well, what's going on, social media family? Once again, it's on yours truly, Joe Dupree in the building. One of the BLT, the Black Station.
Man, that's
Had to get it out.
all right.
The Black Station in the
That's
building,
all
y'all,
right.
along with my good friend Edward J. Brown, as we always do about this time. It is another Wellness Wednesdays with positive choices, where a healthy you is a
Is a
better
better
you.
you.
And we're about to get into some
Hey,
great conversation because, of
man, I
course,
like the new intro, man. We
we
got
got
merchandise.
we got to bring them in, and we got to bring them. You're gonna check out to bring them out too. So,
Man, I
so
like
family,
it, man.
hey, we working on things every day to improve what we do. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Share this with a friend. That's what I'm going to be doing. Of course, this is the 15th day of February, day after the Love Day,
Love
and
day.
we're going to be talking about your mental health, because your mental health matters.
That's
Tell a
right.
friend to tell a friend. We are here we are here every Wednesday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. We stay sometimes a little bit longer. We might start a little late and we stay a little longer, but at the end of the day, we're here
We get it done. We get
to
it
give
done.
you the information that you need to let you know that you're not alone, and it's okay not to be okay. And there are people out there that are concerned about your mental health, your well-being, and there are people concerned about you being the best you could be. Good person that I would like to bring into that picture is my good friend Edward J. Brown. So, ladies and gentlemen, without
Man.
further ado, my good friend from Positive
Brother,
Choices.
before you go, man, let me tell these folks something.
Come on, man.
We've been doing this podcast now almost 3 years, a
Yeah,
little
we
more
have.
than 2 years.
Yeah.
And this brother continues to bring the best of the best. I want y'all to notice that intro. I wanted you to notice the merchandise, that these young people were wearing. I want to give you your flowers while you're here, my brother. You are a true pioneer in this field of media, from being in front of the camera, being behind the camera, and I don't want it to be gone. I don't want it to go unnoticed.
Well, man,
So
thanks for the love, man.
I want,
We in
I
this
want,
together. Look, bro, we brothers, man. We in this thing
right.
together. We just trying to
Yeah,
get the
but
good
you
news.
sprung that on me today, and I'm surprised, y'all. So what y'all saw in the intro today was the first time I saw it myself,
He
and I
didn't
want
know it
you
was
to
coming.
know how impressed I really am. So, my brother, I commend you. And I don't know about y'all that's watching this podcast, but I got to get me one of those 100 BLK t-shirts. And
Hold it. I got one for you. We're
all right,
getting together not this weekend, but next weekend when we get. I
correct.
got one for you.
We will talk about that at the end. The Legacy Bowl coming up.
Yes,
But
sir.
today, I have something very, very important that I think, as people, as human beings, we need to talk about. And one of the reasons that we need to talk about this very serious issue tonight is because I think that in our society, in our culture, and I don't mean just the African American, I mean in the human culture, we kind of are beginning to normalize some things. And the thing that I'm talking about today is abuse.
Mm.
Abuse. Now, you may say, well, how do we normalize abuse? And we're going to talk about those kind of things. And what I want you to understand is that you do not have to, once it's identified, accept abuse.
Right. That's true.
You do not have to allow, and we're going to talk about different types of abuse. And you do not have to let it impact your mental health so much that it makes you walk around and feel like you're wearing this big, heavy coat. So I'm going to start from one end. I was going to say from the least to the most, but it depends. It's individualized. So what someone may feel is little may be major to someone else. But the first place I'm going to talk about is in the workplace. And we was like, there's abuse in the workplace? Yes, there's not just, verbal abuse. there's emotional, and sometimes sexual abuse. If you've ever been in a situation at work where you feel minimized, put down, or belittled, that is a form of abuse. It is not necessary to do that in order to correct someone or to address someone or to speak to someone. It's not a part of the workplace. Now I'm going to keep it where I live so that I don't step on anybody's toes. I remember many years ago, we were just getting off the ground. Positive Choices with a little bitty old Positive Choices. And we had an employee. And in the midst of being corrected or even maybe reprimanded for something that she did, she began and felt comfortable enough to trash my daughter.
Oh, Lord.
Who was a child at the time. She made the comment, well, that's why your daughter have a bad attitude. Now she was, and she was very angry because she didn't and wasn't used to being corrected. And what really took her back was that I didn't meet her where she was.
Mm.
Now I could have easily exercised my authority in a very inappropriate manner and spoke to her crazy, yelled at her, cussed her, but I didn't. The way I'm looking at this camera right now, I said, you know what? With that being said, I'd like to thank you for your services, but they're no longer needed here at Positive Choices.
Mm.
And her eyes got really big, and she really didn't expect me to respond that way.
Mm.
So when we are in the workplace and we find our colleagues have no problem talking to us in a disrespectful manner, or our boss feels comfortable talking to you in a disrespectful manner to the point where it impacts your mood even when you think about going to work, that is abuse. And you should not feel that way going to work. Now, don't get me wrong. If you notice, I'm being very clear in my explanation, in my definition. Being reprimanded, being corrected, being told that you're not doing something is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the manner in which you're spoken to. Were you disrespected by being called out of your name or yelled at, or things like I've even been in situations where people throw stuff at employees.
That part.
Yeah. They'll pick up something and throw it at. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about abuse. Now, if we can say that we're clear on that, because we have a lot of information to cover tonight.
All right.
What if you're clear on that, then let's talk about sexual abuse on the job.
Come on, let's talk about it.
Yeah, because we have had so many things transpire over the past 3 decades that some people feel very uncomfortable in the workplace. Now, here's the interesting thing. As men and women, I had a lady just today. I had to go to the Dollar Tree or the dollar store, one of those stores I went to, because I wanted some plugins.
Okay.
And when I went and I got the plugins, the lady was at the front register and she has her earbuds in and she's told a person, yeah, because he called me on Valentine's Day and didn't even bother to come over and see me. And I'm standing right in front of her. I did not say a word, but I assumed she saw it on my face. And she started saying things like, "Hey, handsome, I like your beard." And I was
What
like,
that what that got to do with the cost of the cheap
you know,
tea in China?
I said, "Thank you very much, but I would really like for you to ring up my plugins."
Come on.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a pastor, and my pastor has a beard, but his beard not as nice as yours. I said, "Thank you." Now, the reason I think this story is relevant, if I was an employee there, is that sexual harassment?
That
Did
depends
she
on what
just
it
sexually
depends on what
harass me?
it depends on what that handbook says. That may be very close to it.
The policy manual, correct.
That's correct.
Because now we have women and men who engage one another in the workplace, and we as men, we weary about compliment. That's a nice jacket you got on, Betty.
You're right.
Oh, women are very reluctant to say, "Hey, boss, that suit sure look good on you."
Correct.
Because we have a climate in our country now, in our society, where anything that is undesired can be interpreted as sexual harassment.
And we have to be very honest here, Brother Brown.
We
A lot of
always
time
are.
when we are speaking about sexual harassment, a lot of folks only see that as men harassing women, not women harassing men. And I want to bookmark where you're at right now and tell you about something I encountered today, a conversation that was very deep. A young man shot a lady. And so people were trying to figure out the dynamics of what was going on. Well, eventually, this lady who was in her, let's say, headed toward her 30s, her upper 20s, had eventually been sexually engaged with this young man since he was in his teens.
Oh, wow.
See, that's what we don't talk about. We talk about these old, dirty men, but we don't talk about these old, dirty women. You know, and how many, because when you in your teens, let's just be real about it. While you're talking about, what's going on here, let's be real. If you're 15, 16, 17, 18, and you're dealing with a woman who's 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, people really encouraging you the man.
Yeah.
Well, that's really sexual.
I have some really bad news for you, Brother Dupree. Now, I'm going to say this because I learned this about 15 years ago.
Okay.
I was speaking. Now, so anyone that watched this, I'm going to preface this by a disclaimer.
Okay.
With it being 15 years ago, I'm not sure if this is a Mississippi law or if it is just law in general.
Okay.
But, okay. I was speaking to the Natchez High football team. And prior to me was a sheriff, sergeant, officer, or whatever he was. It was 4 of us speaking. We each had 20 minutes. Well, he went right before me. And his topic, believe it or not, was statutory rape.
Wow.
Okay. And this is what he said. He said, if you are under the age of 21.
Come on.
Okay. This is what he said. Anything more, he said, if it's 24 months to the day or less, difference in age. So in other words, if you're 20, and this is the example that got everybody's attention. You're 20 and she is 18. And it's exactly 24 months or less. That's statutory rape.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. And I stopped because I was getting my speech together. And a lot of the football players started sitting up. He said, so if you're 16 and your girlfriend is 18, she is committing statutory rape.
So there's no Romeo and Juliet law in the state of
No.
of the cricket letter I, humpback I.
So I stop what I'm doing and I'm listening to this brother. And so he was like, so if you 17 and your girlfriend 15 and y'all are engaging in intercourse, that is statutory rape if she's 24 months younger than you.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm sitting, so when it was my turn, because he went over his time, because of course the football players was all paying attention at that point.
Yeah, we have some questions here, son.
I said, excuse me. I said, I have a question. I said, you said if the girl is 18 and the boy is 20. He said, I know exactly what I said, Mr. Brown. You are not of consenting age until you are 21 years old.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, wow. He said, so if you 20 and one month before you make 21 and that girl is 24 months, you are committing statutory rape and can be arrested. I felt it because I actually told him, I said, now, to be honest with y'all, I don't know if I want to follow that because nothing I say are you listening to. Y'all are calculating the days and the birthdays.
Yeah, this is one of those. This is one of those. The more you know.
Yes. So if that is a national law, meaning federal, and just not specific to Mississippi, we got a lot of people that's in trouble.
Well, let's be.
I don't want to lose
honest.
our point as we talk about.
Let's just be honest.
In the workplace,
every state probably has a different set of laws.
Probably, I know. That's why I said I prefaced it with that was in Mississippi.
But let us do understand this. There are a lot of adults, and remember, across the board, everybody's considered to be an adult at age 18.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of adults who engage in sexual activities with minors, and we got to wake up and get a real perspective of this thing, because it comes down to even trafficking and other things, and it's just not men with women. There are a lot of women out there doing stuff with men. There are a lot of teachers. I noticed that in the news. I catch that often. You know, there are a lot of teachers who are female teachers teaching at these high schools that get caught up with some of these young men that they're teaching. I
agree.
So we family, we do have to have some serious conversations.
Yeah,
and we're really going to have to get down to the point where we understand that what Brother Brown is talking about tonight is something that we have to start having serious conversation about, because the more you know, the better off you're going to be on how to handle these situations and deal with it, Brother Brown.
So I know this is going to fly by, so we got to keep it moving. So we're talking about abuse in the workplace. You do not have to accept it. And at the end of all of this, we're going to talk about what recourse you have at your disposal. What can you do? So we talked about, in the workplace. What is it? Is it disrespect or is it abuse? If it is belittling to you as a human, it is abuse. In other words, you do not have to be cussed. You do not have to be yelled at. Is it necessary to call you stupid? Is it necessary to call you an idiot? These are not curse words. Is it necessary to when you say things to belittle you like you're stupid? This is not necessary in the workplace. Okay, we could spend the whole night talking about it, because Brother Dupree, you're 100% correct. Women are not the only ones that's sexually harassed in the workplace, that are victims of sex abuse or abuse of authority in the workplace. It's also men.
Correct.
All right. Now, let's move into something that's a little bit a touchy situation. What about in our families?
Mm.
Now,
That uncle or that aunt that's just a little bit too friendly.
ooh, always like to hug and kiss you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can have abuse, both sexual, emotional, and physical, within our own families.
Mm-hmm.
And I am here to tell you, because this is a very untouchy, this is a very touchy subject for some people, and they do not like to talk about it. I understand it's uncomfortable, but I am here tonight to let you know that you are not alone. If you are a victim of abuse, any type, emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, seek help. Get help. Counseling is a start. Reach out to a counseling agency. Positive Choices. Reach out to someone. You do not have to, because we call sexual abuse and certain types of abuse silent offenders, because we carry them around and we don't want to talk about it. Is it abuse? Oh, here's one for you. Here's one that I think we have to talk about. Brother Dupree, and this may be a little lighthearted. Have you ever been in a situation where you're sitting around and there's a couple, and that couple begins to argue?
Mm.
And on top of you already feeling uncomfortable, one of them takes it to the next level.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, and they don't care whether or not they're disrespecting or being abusive to one another. So they don't care about how you feel. Correct. About them being disrespectful.
Correct.
So I have to tell a Will Creek story, and I know I might have to clean it up a little bit, but I don't know if I can to get it, but I'm going to speed it up. I went to Chicago. Okay. I went to Chicago when I was a Southern student.
Okay.
With one of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, man, we're going to go around and we're going to hang out. I said, okay. So I meet his family, and they was like, oh, he's from New Orleans. You're going to make hurricanes. We had a bunch of fun. Then we went by one of his friends' house, and my life has never been the same. The dude walked in. Hey, how you doing, Jeff? My friend's name was Jeff. And Jeff said, this is my friend Ed. He's from New Orleans. Hey, Ed, how you doing? Hey, man, nice to meet you. Hey, Brother Dupree, his wife walked into the room.
Come on.
And he said, hey, bitch, this Ed, and you know Jeff already. And I'm sitting there like this. And she said, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. And he said, bitch, go get us something to drink.
Oh, Lord.
And she was like, what y'all want? And I'm literally sitting there like this. And she went and she came back with some ice, and I think we had some Coke or something. And he said, all right, bitch, you can go. And she leaned down, kissed him, and went on about her business.
Oh, Lord.
And I was so traumatized because it did not faze her at all. It did not faze her that her husband just said, hey, bitch, go get us something to drink. Mm. And she's like, what y'all want? And that kind of starts, and it goes back to the beginning of this podcast, where I talk about how abuse sometimes becomes normalized. If you're used to being yelled at, or you're used to being hit, or you're used to being belittled, where is the problem? It's the norm for you.
Correct.
We have to be comfortable saying it's not normal to be abused.
Correct.
It's not. Now, we've had a show, I think it might have was the second show we ever had, Brother Dupree, where we talked about corporal punishment.
Come on.
Since we're talking about abuse in the family. And we have people who believe corporal punishment is a form of abuse.
Correct. You do.
I don't believe in hitting my child, or I don't believe in spanking, and they believe that it is a form of abuse.
Correct. There are folks that believe that, and once again, people have different upbringings. People have different values. I always talk about, the difference that because of sometimes the way you were raised and the values that were instilled in you and the things that were passed on to you from generation to generation, some people have a certain philosophy about the way things should go. Not saying that it's right or wrong, because I had to make a very good point today to folks. There is a very big difference between legal and morally correct.
Correct. Absolutely.
I say, for example, there was a time that to drink alcohol, it was illegal. There was a time in some states across the United States of America to smoke weed was illegal. There was
Correct.
a time that slavery was legal.
It was legal. That's right.
Doesn't mean that it was morally correct. Just means that it was legal. Just said that they had a law in the book that says, by the law, this is okay. But as time changes and people evolve, so do their philosophies and their ways of looking things, and we become more toward a more civilization of brothers and sisters who try to do the right thing. I mean, right now we're dealing with a lot. I mean, look at what has just happened since the last podcast we were on.
Exactly.
Michigan State. Let's send a prayer up for the Spartans.
Absolutely.
The earthquakes that occurred in Turkey. I mean, life is happening. The drones that are flying above us that are getting shot down look like now on a daily. So there is a lot of stressors on us. And then you have to deal with going to work, and you might be at work, as you said. Everybody on this podcast, do me a favor. If you're working, make sure that you have a copy of the handbook that tells you the do's and procedures and the don'ts at your job.
Right. That's right.
Brother Brown.
So as we look at what abuse actually is, and even within the family, within your family, you have, and we see it all the time. We see parents who address their children with vulgarity. And we even play the videos on social media and we laugh. But I want everyone to understand that abuse is real. Abuse within the workplaces where we started. Now we've moved into the family. And we have to talk about these unspoken issues like sexual abuse within the family. It is not a nice subject, and people avoid it like the plague. That's why we have multi-generational abusers within families, because people don't talk about it. I'm here to tell you that abuse within the family does not have to be tolerated. Find someone, speak out. If you are one of those parents that you believe in corporal punishment, one of the things that I've always told, and there's no handbook that tells you how to be the great parent. But what is basic common sense. There's certain things you should not do. You should not spank your child if you are angry. It's a recipe for disaster. It is not good to swear and curse your children. Now, I stand and I'm going to raise my hand. I have let a few flickering flaxes and fly out of my mouth in many, many years. But what do we always say? When you know better, you try to do better.
That's right.
So I want everyone to understand, as we talk about these different types of abuse and where it hides itself in certain situations, be it the workplace, be it, because I'm going to tell you something, be it an instructor. being an instructor on a collegiate level, there are students. I had a student one time. She was not happy with me because I believe she was not doing things up to standard, right?
Right.
So she did not get the grade from me she wanted. And she was one of those students that liked to be the teacher's pet. She wanted to go and get the chairs, lunch all the time, and wanted to sit with, she was one of those. And, there's nothing wrong with that if that's your personality. But when she didn't get the grade she wanted from me, because I just didn't accept the mediocrity she was trying to give me, she came into class. And Brother Dupree, you my brother. You've been knowing me for many years now.
Yes, sir.
She walked in my class and she handed me a Tootsie Pop. And she said in front of my class, "Here you go. This is a sucker for a sucker."
Oh, Lord.
And I kind of looked at her. I looked up and I didn't reach for the sucker. So she set it down and she went and sat in her chair. And you know how when, as a parent, your mother calls your whole government name?
Right.
You know you're in trouble.
Right. You know you messed up,
her
right?
Full government name.
Okay.
And told her, "See me after class."
That part.
And the entire class was like, "Are you out of your mind?"
There was a pause.
They were like, do you know who he don't? And for the entire class, I have to admit, she sat there and I quietly saw tears just running down her face.
Oh, my. She knew she had messed. She had got too comfortable.
Yeah.
Hold it. She had got too comfortable. And look, speaking about getting too comfortable, this might be a good place for me to do it. Is this a good place? Yeah, I think it's going to be a good place for me to do it. So let me do this. And let me do this. And listen, family. So if you're out there and you need someone to talk to, Positive Choices Counseling. I forgot to put counseling on this. So let me hide that. I'm going to bring that back. But Positive Choices Counseling.org is where you need to go. You'll find a lot of great information at this website. You'll be able to reach out to some clinicians. You'll be able to get in touch with someone who can help you with whatever you're dealing with your mental health issues. And family, we all need a little help from our friends sometimes. I'm just saying. So that's the reason we do this. This is the main reason we do this. This is why me and Brother Brown come on here, because we really want you to know that you have a source and resources to help you with your mental health, because a healthy you is a better you. And understand this, suicide is at an all-time high amongst brown and black folks. Folk of color, we dealing with it. We dealing with, just in the time that we've done this podcast, I've seen a Southern University cheerleader. I've seen a beauty queen.
Absolutely.
I've seen
celebrities.
A very well-known DJ celebrity from the Ellen Show. So folk that you would look at and say, hey, there's no reason in the world. If I had this person,
they got it all together.
Hold it. When we say these, if I had this person's life, I would never take you don't know what folk are going through. And just because they seem to be financially doing well doesn't mean they're not going through some real mental anguish and they don't want to live. Money is not everything.
Money don't solve all problems. I know we think we do, but Biggie said it, more money.
That's it. More problems.
So, we are halfway through. So I find myself having to pick up the pace, because one of the biggest arenas for abuse is in our personal relationships.
Oh, Lord.
We have to touch upon this because there is so much hidden abuse. You never know what another person is going through.
Now you're about to really get deep in here, because
I know
there are folks who literally are terrified of leaving a partner. They're terrified, because we have it happen every day. Just
I was
here
going to say, we have clinicians and law enforcement that
right.
we can speak on. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, every day I look at situations where individuals literally murder folks because of jealousy, because of they had a protective order. And I mean, it is crazy. Listen, if y'all are, this is the time where I really want some of y'all to listen. If you're in a situation that is a life-threatening situation, you gotta find some way to find some help, and do it discreetly. Because these folks, listen, look at right now on TV. One of the most high-powered news stories going on right now is the man, I believe, in South Carolina. He killed his wife and his son. He's an attorney, and he's being accused. He's being accused of shooting his wife and his son. It hasn't been proven that he did it, but he's been accused of it, all over him having financial issues. He did that kind of to draw away from. I mean, there are people who life is precious, family, and I'm just gonna let Brother Brown take it on from here.
I think that one of the reasons that this topic came up this week was because as a mental health professional, and people come in and they say their innermost thoughts to us, we are given skills, and we train and we learn how to address certain things. But it does not mean we don't feel anything. And I had a situation to where I had a lady tell me she's sneaking food because her husband talks about her whenever he sees her eating. She's a little overweight, and he calls her names, and he ridicules her, and he laughs at her, and he puts her down, and he makes her feel really bad. And whenever she says anything to him about it, like, you're hurting my feelings, then he calls her names, starts to cuss her, and and I said to her, this is a form of abuse. And she looked at me and she said, he's never hit me. My husband has never hit me. I said, I understand that he's never hit you. I said, but he's belittling you. And despite what you say, he doesn't seem to adhere to anything that you're saying. It took us a while for her to say, okay, you must be right because I'm bringing it up in my session. I said, well, if you saw it from an outside perspective, and I took a clip from a movie that I saw one day where the woman was eating, and the husband, I don't even remember the movie. It'll come to me in a second. And the husband wanted her to do something, and she said, when I'm done eating. He got up, took a plate, put it in the trash, and said, you're done. And when she looked at it, she was like, oh. And that's the look she had on her face.
Oh, Lord.
So I want sometimes the people that we love the most are the ones that hurt us the most. But you have to be willing to address it. Because if you do not address it, there is not a catalyst for change. And speaking on things is what makes it a catalyst for change. That engaging, that acknowledgement, that exchange promotes change. I did not know that when I said this, it hurt your feelings. I did not know it made you feel a particular way. That was not my intention. And then the dialogue is nourished, is promoted, is encouraged. But you have to be willing to talk about what we are sitting here saying is abuse. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable talking about the things that they feel are just traumatizing. It is a topic that we do not feel comfortable talking about. The two things, we don't like talking about parental abuse and we don't like to talk about significant other abuse.
That's it.
We don't like talking about those things. Whether you were abused by a parent, whether you abuse your children, we don't want to talk about that. Whether you're a person in a relationship that is someone that you feel can be abusive or someone that you feel is abused, you have to be willing to talk about it. I don't know what happened. Well, for us, it's a cultural thing since we're talking about the culture.
Come on.
It's
Let's
a
talk
cultural
about it.
thing
That's
because
it.
we were that entity, that group of people. We did not let outside people know your family business. We didn't do it. Whatever happened, it stayed in the house. That was one of the reasons that, and one of the things I wanted to address when I was a young therapist. I want to change the way African Americans view counseling and mental health services. We are too, I've had people who took their children out of counseling because they did not know what was being said in that therapeutic session and they could not handle it. They would corner you after your session. What did he say?
Hey.
Would you tell that man when you was in there?
Listen.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do a whole hour special on nosy folk.
Ooh,
because guess what? There are a bunch of nosy folk out there. Now they disguise their nosiness
as concern.
I'm concerned. No,
Yeah.
No, baby. And then watch this. There are a lot of nosy folks with a lot of powerful positions and titles. Some of them we call them pastors.
Ooh.
Now look, I don't want folk to get mad at me, but I'm just calling it what it is. Because some of these folks that are prophesying are really prophet-lying because they done got nosy and figured out some things about you. Let me leave that alone. Let me leave it. As you were saying, as you were, sir, as you were. Go ahead.
What you say, brother? They're not prophesying.
They prophet-lying. And they prophet-lying.
You know that's funny, right? That's very funny. Okay. Anyway, so as with this last 15 minutes in this podcast, we've talked about abuse in the workplace. We've talked about it within the family, and we've talked about it in our relationships. So now we're going to take the last 15 minutes and talk about what are some of the things that you can do. The first thing you have to do is identify and call a thing a thing. And it does not matter who it is. You have to call a thing a thing. If it's abuse, it is abuse. You can't say, well, she's just a little, moody some of the time. Well, you can be moody without being abusive. Well, he had a hard day at work. You can have a hard day at work without being abusive. Well, my mother she didn't mean to. Well, you can be a mother and a father without being abusive. I love you. There's a saying in the therapeutic world that's been thrown around since before Hector was a pup, as my grandmother used to say. I don't understand what that means, but she would always say that. And that is love don't hurt. Love doesn't hurt. So I want you to realize that the first thing and the first step is acknowledging that it is what it is. It's not, oh, he's just moody. No, she's abusive. Well, you know, he just had a hard day. No, he's abusive.
Come on.
Because until you acknowledge it is what it is, you can't take the next step.
Correct. Correct. Until you call the thing out.
Till you call a thing out, you can't take the next step. And the next step, from once we acknowledge it, the next step, we're saying we have to define what it is. Once you acknowledge it, that's abuse. Well, no, I'm just talking to you. No, talking is what we're doing now. When you call me a bitch, that's abuse.
All right.
So now we went from acknowledging we got abuse to now you're verbally abusive. You threw a lamp at me and hit me in the head. That's physical abuse. You sit there and you talk about me and you ridicule me. You call me fat. You call me, guess what? That's emotional abuse. I got one for you, Brother Dupree. There's psychological abuse.
Come on, talk to me. Talk to me.
There is true psychological abuse. That is what we had a whole seminar, oh Lord, many years ago. This was in like the mid-90s, a whole seminar on the concept of prostitution and pimping.
Come on.
There is emotional and psychological abuse that is projected onto another individual from people that we hold in high regards. That is one of the greatest sources of abuse because it involves trust, just like sexual abuse. It involves the trust of the abuser.
Correct.
That trust is then violated, which brings about the abuse. The psychological abuse. I had, oh my God, some of the things that I've seen as a therapist of 33 years. I have a kid to this day. Well, he's a man now. And as therapists, I'm going to tell you right now, I've made not therapeutic mistakes, but I've made bad decisions.
Come on.
We had a Halloween party, for lack of a better term. We had the clients come to the office and we were going to just give out candy at the office. Well, I just so happened to go and buy a clown mask, a very scary clown mask. And when the kids came into the office and they were being given candy, I came out of my office and I was like, Happy Halloween. And one of the kids, he was maybe 11. That's why I say he's a man now, because I think he's maybe mid-20s, something like that. This kid took off running, and I thank God somebody was near the door to open the door, because he would have ran clean through that glass door.
Oh, Lord.
And took off running down the highway.
Oh, Lord.
I literally had to go and chase this kid, and I had to snatch the mask off because, I was like, what's going on? And when he turned and saw me, he stopped. And he came running towards me and he grabbed me and he said, there's a clown at the office. And I said, that was me. He said, no, it's a clown. And I said, no, that was a mask. I had a mask. And he looked at me and he said, I hate clowns.
Right. There are people out there.
I'm afraid of clowns.
There are people out there that are terrified of clowns. You'd be surprised.
Yeah. And I didn't think that my Halloween costume should not have been something scary. As a therapist, I should have been a wizard or I don't know, something. So that was a mistake I made in poor judgment.
A learning lesson.
It was I learned that day. From now, ever since then, I think I've been Mario. I've been a matador. I've been a Jamaican Rasta man.
Come on.
But I've never been a clown again. If emotional abuse, psychological abuse is some of the most damaging abuse out there. It is things that it takes us as clinicians, as therapists, the longest to repair. Because it's like taking a puzzle that's all white and trying to put it together. The psyche is very fragile.
Mm-hmm.
So I said we were talking about what to do. You acknowledge that there's something there. Then you acknowledge what it is. And then you be a catalyst for change.
Right.
From now on, I'm going to call you out on it.
Now listen, family, there's a lot I like for those who go back, and I see a lot of folks go back and they listen to these podcasts and they look at these video podcasts. In 2023, we're not talking just to be talking. We're literally trying to plant the seeds to bring about the change that should be everyone who looks or listen at any of these podcasts want to have happen in their life. Look, the change I might want might not be the change you want, but nevertheless, sometimes
or the change you need.
Right. But you got to look at situations and circumstances, and you got to start asking questions. I think one of the biggest problems we have as a people, as a society, is we just deal with so-and-so said it and I'm good with it. No. Sometimes just because so-and-so said it, sometimes you need to ask yourself, is what so-and-so said good for me and my family and my people? Because guess what? I love Barack Obama, but everything Barack Obama said wasn't good for me, my family, or my people, for my opinion.
Now, I tell people all the time, as a small business owner, Barack Obama didn't do much for me.
Hold up. And
as much as what he did for the culture, I was happy to see him.
And that didn't make him, to me, a bad president.
Not at all.
Watch this.
Not at all.
There are, and look, I know some folk gonna be highly upset when I say this.
They'll be all right.
But we got to be real with each other. There are some things that Donald Trump said and did that I was like, that make a little sense to me there. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is, good people can say bad things.
Not saying that Donald Trump is a good person. Right. I can't echo on that.
Right. Bad people can say good things.
That's right.
Understand, it's a sum of more than just one conversation or one deed that makes a person good or bad. Remember that. It's a sum of more than just one conversation or one deed that makes a person good or bad. And y'all really need to take that to the bank, because some of y'all write folks off way too quick. And some of y'all open the door and let people in way too quick. And it's got to be more than the sum of one conversation or one deed that makes you say, oh, that's a good person, or that person there is terrible. Sometimes you got to get to know people. It takes time to know folk and to understand people. And sometimes we just jump into things way too quickly. And that's where we open ourselves up to this abuse that Brother Brown has been talking to us about, because we get way too comfortable. And when we get way too comfortable with people who are predators, see, there's a reason why certain animals in the wild will lure you. There's a reason why some snakes do this number. See, because they want you to start bobbing and weaving, because you're going to get looked. And see, when you get to the point that you can't defend yourself, that's when they're going to strike.
Correct.
Brother Brown.
And as I sit here and I listen to Brother Dupree, an hour is not enough for this topic.
It really is. We're gonna bring it back.
I'm gonna be very honest with you. I jumped around really fast because this is a topic that I think we have to pay close attention to, because it is what's hidden in the dark, and it's what's been hidden for too long. People won't talk. People won't say. They won't comment. So they walk around and they carry these scars. They carry this abuse. They carry this hurt, this pain, because they don't know how to talk about it, or the person that's the abuser is someone that they hold in high regards. We have to talk more about this. This is something. So as we go into the end of this podcast, I'm going to make a commitment to you that we're going to revisit this topic one day. But in the meantime, if there is something that you're carrying around, this baggage, this hurt, as a result of some form of abuse, please seek help. Please get help. PositiveChoicesCounseling.org will give you the number to call, and we can get you seen. Someone that would allow you to speak. That's the first step. Getting this out, talking about it, bringing it to the light, not holding it in, not carrying that weight around by yourself. But this is something that I want everyone to realize there is help for. You do not have to continue to be abused on the job, within your family, within your relationship. Change is possible. Sometimes you may have that couple that needs to go to therapy together just to improve the way they communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Hitting, they say there's certain things you can't take back. A bullet in words.
Amen.
So we have to be very conscious of how the things that we say and do impact other people. I've learned so much in my own personal life over the past 57 years, that makes me say, you know what? Wow, this was not a very nice person. I gave them a pass because of the way they talked to folks, the way they treated people. We gave them a pass. Even myself, just because I got angry doesn't mean it was okay to speak to a person like that. So we're all work in progress. But I'm going to challenge everybody as we get ready to close out. If you feel as though you are in a situation where you are being abused, please seek help. Reach out and get that help that you need. Brother Dupree?
Well, my brother, all I can say is, man, once again, we're here. We stay on here as long as we feel like staying on here. I think that this was a very important thing that we need to have the conversation about. We've got some things that, we're coming out of. We're still in the midst of Black History Month.
Absolutely.
I think every day should be Black History, because every day somebody of color is making history somewhere.
I agree.
But nevertheless, we do put aside the month of February to recognize those who have been trailblazers in our communities. So get to know more about yourself. I think one of the biggest issues we have as a people is you can't go where you've never seen somebody go. And then again, we've been places that we don't even know our history. Some of us know more about George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin than we do about, I'm going to throw some Marcus Garvey. We don't know W.E.B. Du Bois. We don't know Shirley Chisholm. We don't know, there's a lot of great folk out there we just don't know. We know what they give to us. You have to go beyond that. You have to know about Kemet. You got to know about the Cushites. You got to know about the real pharaohs of Egypt that don't look nothing like anything you saw in the Ten Commandments. I promise you.
First of all, you got to realize Egypt is in Africa.
Right.
Some people don't realize Egypt is in Africa. Right.
And you have to understand something, that Africa is a place of much wealth, resources, and riches. They're not folk running. Now, there are some people in the bush, but there's some people in the bush in the United States of America, just to let you know. But everybody ain't running around with bones in their noses going hooga, hooga, hooga. There's some highly intelligent folks in the motherland.
The richest continent, and that's another thing. It's not a country. Africa is a continent. It's the richest continent on the planet.
Correct. So
82% of all diamonds come from Africa.
Right. Full of natural resources.
Yeah.
So understand that know thyself. Know thyself, and don't let other folks try to tell you who you are, who you might not be. We're here for you. Once again, I'm gonna put it up there so you'll know. Positive Choices Counseling.org. Listen, that's where you go before. Listen, I know there's folk out there that loners, folks that feel like they can only handle it on their own.
Yes.
Everybody needs somebody sooner or later.
Hey, man. Shout out to Chiefs. Great game. Pat Mahomes. You took my Eagles down. I picked the Eagles. I really didn't care who won, but since I was made to choose, I chose the Eagles. I thought they had a better team. But I knew the Chiefs had a better quarterback, and he showed it. So I appreciate everyone who kind of called and picked on me for picking the Eagles. But as we wrap up tonight, I want to say, Brother Dupree, I'm going to see you next week.
Yeah.
Next weekend, we're getting together for the Legacy Bowl.
Yeah.
Looking forward to, having a good time seeing these young brothers showcase the talent from these HBCU schools. And we'll get a chance to hang out and talk more then. But to everybody that's watching this podcast, you know what we always say. If nobody else told you today, we love you. Peace. We'll see y'all next week.